Hello friends, the world ocean hides many mysteries, and humankind will probably have to spend more than a century to solve them all. When researchers find another sunken city underwater, a sculpture or something else they can't quite understand, they wonder, how did it get there? One of these obscure findings was a sound discovered in 1997. For years, scientists couldn't find an adequate explanation. However, many suggest theories that the bloop is produced by a living creature of an incredible size. In today's video, we offer you to reveal the secrets of more realistic but still mysterious objects that were found underwater. Let's get it on. The Lion City. You've probably heard of Atlantis, right? Well, if you haven't, it's an ancient city that disappeared underwater. Some believe that it's a myth, but others don't give up and keep on searching for it. But Atlantis is not the only underwater city on our planet. However, you don't need to search for the city we're talking about now because its location is already known. The Lion City is located in China. Scientists also found out that this ancient installation is more than 1,300 years old, but it was submerged not so long ago. It happened back in 1959 when the local government completed the construction of a hydroelectric power station. As a result of the construction, the city went underwater completely, and thus a lake appeared with an area of 573 square kilometers. It's called Thousand Island Lake. We think it's strange that the government just flooded such an ancient place, but maybe there were reasons for that. Before the flooding from the city of Xicheng, which is its name in Chinese, 290,000 people were evicted. Today, this place is popular with divers from all over the world, as the city is located at a depth of only 26 to 40 meters underwater. In addition, it's pretty well preserved, and its area is equal to the total area of 62 football fields. Baiae. Have you ever dreamed of visiting a place where just a few thousand years ago, such great people as Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Gaius Marius just walked around? Well, then watch carefully, because we're going to show it to you now. You can't go there though. What you have to do there is swim. Baiae is a seaside town on the coast of the Gulf of Naples in Italy, and it's impossible to say exactly when it was founded. And there was nothing remarkable in this town until Roman aristocrats suddenly fell in love with it. They noticed that Baiae was located in a very beautiful area and started building their villas, theaters, and temples there. In the days of ancient Rome, Baiae was a luxurious and festive place, but today it's almost completely gone underwater. Despite the fact that the buildings are almost not preserved, today you can still find a few examples of ancient Roman architecture underwater. Descending into the waters of the Tyrrhenian Sea, divers can see these sculptures, ruins, columns, and arches built in the years BC. It's a pity that in a couple of decades they'll probably completely disappear though. Nature does not spare anyone, and in fact it was it that caused the flooding. Scientists agree that the city went underwater due to volcanic activity. The Lighthouse of Alexandria. The ancient people were able to build gorgeous edifices, striking our imagination to this day. Have you ever heard of the Lighthouse of Alexandria, which is rightly considered to be one of the 7 wonders of the world? It's also sometimes called the Pharos of Alexandria. It was built in the 3rd century BC, and at a height of as much as 150 meters. The construction should have taken about 20 years, but somehow such a huge structure was built in just 5. Is there something to learn for modern builders, right? The Lighthouse of Alexandria was built on the island of Pharos and was supposed to help ships pass the reefs. It seems incredible, but the light of the lighthouse was visible at a distance of 51 kilometers. Some sources claim that it was even 81 kilometers. It'd be cool to keep such a magnificent building to this day, but the first destruction occurred in the 4th century because of the most powerful earthquake in the history of Egypt. Since then, the lighthouse has been only 30 meters high. By the 12th century, the bay was ruined to such an extent that nobody used it anymore. By the 14th century, the building was completely destroyed by another earthquake. All that's left to us today are only a few fragments underwater. However, you can still see ancient writing on some of them. Unknown City. The underwater city that we're about to show you can be called a ghost town. Why? Well, because there's no information about the architectural complex with an area of 2.4 square kilometers. Scientists couldn't find anything in the documents whatsoever. Now, first things first, in 2001 at the bottom of the Fushan Lake in China, divers accidentally discovered numerous large stones covered with carvings. Further examination showed that they were about 1,750 years old. Some scientists suggest that these ruins may actually be ancient buildings belonging to the state of Diane. Most likely, they were destroyed by an earthquake, and the wreckage ended up underwater. According to another version, the ruins found are the wreckage of the sunken city of U.F.O. These versions are good, but not good enough. The following examination showed that the cities of Diane and U.F.O. were built of wood and clay, and the discovery, as you may remember, was made of stone. What's more interesting is the mysterious carvings decorating the stones. They contain symbols that have not yet been deciphered. Thus, the lost city at the bottom of the Fushan Lake is a riddle that humanity has yet to unravel. The Statue of Christ. Take a look at the 2.5-meter tall statue of Jesus Christ, located in the Italian bay of San Fructuoso near Genoa at a depth of 17 meters. Surprisingly, the figure, covered with numerous algae, is still quite recognizable. What an amazing discovery, you say? Well, we thought so too, until we found out that the bronze statue of Christ was lowered into the water on purpose. This was done on August the 22nd, 1954, and the idea belongs to the Italian diver N.W.O. The fact is that in 1947, his friend died in this place, and N.W.O. wanted to do something to immortalize his memory. He had the idea of placing a statue of the Savior, and did it. Today, this place is popular with underwater divers. The water in the bay of San Fructuoso is very transparent, so the statue can even be seen in the smallest details. By the way, Christ of the Abyss, as it's known, is not the only sculpture of this kind. There are two exact copies. One is on the coast of the capital of the Caribbean country, Grenada, and the second was erected in 1965 in Florida, USA. Atlit Yam. If you want to see one of the oldest flooded cities on the planet, go to Israel. Or don't go, just keep watching our video. The age of the village of Atlit Yam, located in the waters near the city of Haifa, is not less than 9,000 years old. It was a large, prosperous village, but today its only visitors are brave divers from all over the world. This place is popular only thanks to the fact that it's really well preserved. Scientists couldn't figure out the reason of this phenomenon until they thought of taking the soil for analysis. It turned out that Atlit Yam is located on a unique granular bottom, and this allowed the village to be so well preserved. We want you to understand the level of this well-preservedness, so let us tell you. In the sunken buildings, researchers were able to find insects that, in ancient times, plagued residents. Impressive, isn't it? By the way, scientists still haven't found out what caused the flooding of the village. Some suggest that as the glaciers melted, the boundaries of the oceans widened, and eventually the village ended up underwater. Also, there's a theory that there was a sudden powerful tsunami. We're sure that sooner or later scientists will find the reason. After all, the village of Atlit Yam was discovered only in 1984, and not much time has passed since then. Devata Vishnu Temple. Bali Island in Indonesia boasts a huge number of temples, but you can't visit some of them without getting wet. The Devata Vishnu Temple is one of the most unusual temples in Bali, and of course, you've already guessed why. It's located at a depth of about 27 meters underwater. To get to this temple, divers come to the beach of the small fishing village of Pemutaran in the northwest of Bali. If you try to find some information without trying too hard, you can learn the following. The construction is more than 5,000 years old, and it went underwater because of some dramatic events. However, we didn't stop there and continued to dig deeper. It turned out that Devata Vishnu is not an ancient temple, but part of an artificial reef built not so long ago. The fact is that for many corals and other marine plants, it's easier to attach to vertical surfaces. That's why it was decided to create this alleged temple. Thus, they gain double benefit. Marine life feels good, and divers from all over the world are constantly striving to get there. Mars warship. On May the 31st, 1564, when the Swedish warship Mars went underwater in the course of the Northern 7 Years' War, no one knew exactly where this wreckage ended up. For many years, researchers have studied the bottom of the Baltic Sea, but they were lucky only in July 2011. It turned out that all this time, the ship rested at a depth of 73 meters, 10 nautical miles northwest of the Burda harbour, on the island of Öland. The contents of the Mars eventually complemented the the collection of the Vestavix Museum. Inside, bronze cannons as well as coins minted in 1563 were found. Divers who have explored the ship tell stories that are both amazing and horrifying. They say that this is not just a ship, but a whole battlefield, and when you dive, you almost physically feel the drama of what happened. On the day of the shipwreck, more than 1,000 people died in this place. It's amazing what discoveries water can hide for centuries.